Danny Bonsignor, and I am so thankful you are here today. I pray that I can help encourage you to feel, to love, to heal, and to help encourage you to view all of your experiences, your conversations, and interactions all through a lens of love. Hello and welcome to the Healing Mama podcast, episode number 20. I am so excited to talk about a very common and often misunderstood form of discipline today. I do want to say that this is not a space where we shame ourselves for past choices we have made. We are all imperfect parents doing our best with what we know. And when you know better, you can do better. So I'm proud of you for tuning in today. Proverbs 3 verse 35 reads, "The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools." Fools are close-minded and stubborn. We owe it to our children to be open-minded and willing to learn, not to be blindly obedient to the ways we were parented, but to acknowledge that our parents were doing the best they could with what they knew, but they did not know everything. Something that I think about often is how when you start something you have never done before, you learn about it. So why don't we normalize this in parenting? So many just rely on the methods that their parents used, which may have come from their parents and their parents before them, and this is your default setting unless you are actively working to change this. Have you ever taken a moment to question the discipline methods that your parents used and considered that there might be a better way to discipline that is better for both you and your child? Today, I want to talk about timeout, specifically positive timeout, what it is and how it works. But before we can learn about positive timeout, you first need to know what punitive timeout is. Punitive means inflicting or intended as punishment. This is what most people would call normal timeout. The old go to your corner or go to your room and think about what you did. This is used as a form of punishment, and the problem with this is that while it appears to work, it doesn't work in the way you might be thinking. It works in producing children who are fearful or who may learn to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. Punitive timeout, such as putting your child in the corner, is not actually helpful and may teach your child an unintended lesson. This kind of experience can create doubt, shame, and guilt. You cannot motivate your child to feel better by first making them feel worse. Punitive timeout is more likely to invite your child to feel bad about themselves and bad about you. Positive timeout, which can be an encouraging experience when the purpose is not to shame, but to give your child the opportunity to take a break for a short time and try again as soon as they feel better. This is something that they will be able to use for the rest of their lives. It is an important question to ask yourself. What is punitive timeout teaching your child? You have the choice to make timeout an encouraging experience that leaves you and your child feeling empowered. And today I want to share with you how. Timeout was not originally intended to be used as a form of punishment. Long ago, God suggested that quiet time be an enjoyable and helpful time with Him that provides focus and encouragement for the day to come. Even Jesus needed to pull away from the crowds and have time for Himself so that He could renew His strength before coming back to His ministry. You can read about this in Luke chapter 5 when many were wanting to be healed by Jesus and He needed to withdraw. Matthew 14:23 teaches us that solitude is good and a time to pray. And I think this is a very powerful concept that you can teach your child and yourself, because positive timeout is not only for children, but also for you as the parent. This kind of timeout gives everyone involved time to be able to acknowledge and manage their weaknesses. It is a time where you get to learn how to be aware of your feelings and the consequences that those feelings can have when out of control. But before you can have control of your feelings, you first have to have awareness. Positive timeout is going to take patience and the ability to model what you teach. It will also take courage to keep trying after mistakes and the courage to be imperfect at first. It can be an effective and appropriate parenting tool when it is intended to teach, to encourage, and to soothe. However, it might be helpful for you to rethink how you view timeout. Instead of thinking of it as a means to teach your child a lesson, try viewing it as a means to calm down for both you and your child. Then you can both be of sound mind and are able to solve whatever problem together. When your child is upset, they lose access to the part of their brain that allows them to think rationally. This goes for adults as well. In order to use timeout appropriately, depending on the age of your child, you first have to be able to understand the age of reasoning. This is when one is able to distinguish right from wrong. It is important to understand that your toddler and even your older child do not have the reasoning ability that you want to believe they have. This is why before the age of 3.5 to 4 years old, timeout should not even be used. While the age of reasoning does begin at 2.5, logic is developed much later. Supervision and distraction are your best friends if your child falls in this age range. It is much wiser to remove your child from the situation and distract them than to expect them to be able to comprehend your words and actually do what you are asking. When too many words are used to resolve a situation, your child actually learns to tune you out. Your attitude is very important when it comes to discipline. Timeout should only be used to help your child feel better. When you say, think about what you did, it is important to understand that children under 4 years of age lack the reasoning ability to do this and to know what they should have done instead. However, they are able to start developing the belief that I am bad, which is why timeout during this age should be avoided. It can increase the probability that young children will develop a sense of doubt and shame instead of a healthy sense of autonomy, which we talked about in episode 19, if you would like to learn more about the importance of that. Before your child's brain is more fully developed, they require guidance without expectation so that they are better able to absorb and eventually use what they are learning. Children actually cannot even understand or master their feelings in the first 3 years, no matter how much you want to believe or think that your child can. If you need something and you want to try creating a calming space that is both safe and comfortable, you can try going together. As a parent, there are many times where you can benefit from timeout as well. Since the goal of timeout is not to punish, but to help you and your child feel better, this also helps to create a sense of belonging and significance that leads to cooperation. No one parenting tool will work all of the time, so it is always a good idea to have multiple healthy alternatives, which we will continue discussing in later episodes so that you are better able to avoid the temptation to punish when your child challenges you, which they will. So how can you use positive timeout if your child is older than 3.5 or 4 for some children? This is repetitive, but it's important to remember that timeout is not a punishment. It is intended to be a calming space so that your child can respond with more appropriate behavior. Let your child help in creating a space. A good rule of thumb for age 3.5 to 4 is that if your child is too young to understand and or help create this space, then they are too young to do positive timeout, and redirection and distraction are still your best friends. You can ask them what helps them to feel better and offer suggestions such as stuffed animals, a blanket, books, or any toys that don't make loud noises. It's important to note that screens should not be used in this space as they help to distract and avoid the feelings we are calmly trying to recognize and work through. It can be helpful to let them name this space. They could name this their feel-good place, their happy place, or even a silly name or the name of a stuffed animal. Just something where you can say, do you need to go to your happy place? Or do you need to go see Sunny? You might want to know, how do you know your child needs to be offered this choice of going to their calming spot? Well, since they are still learning to name and recognize emotions, it can be helpful when you recognize their feelings of anger or if they seem unhappy and you suggest or ask them if they would like to go to their happy place. Something like, you are really angry at me right now. Would it help you to visit your happy place? If they are too upset to think rationally, you can ask if they would like you to go with them. But remember not to force it if they are too young to choose it. If they are old enough to choose it but too upset, then it might be helpful to offer choices. Choices can help your child to feel empowered and more willing to cooperate. You could say, what would help more, to sit on my lap or go to your special place? If they refuse, that's okay. And it's a good chance for you to model this for them by saying something like, okay, I love you and I'll be in my room. Please come get me when you are ready to make a choice. If they are really upset and they follow you into your room and continue crying, that is okay. It is important to let them have their feelings until they calm down. But if you notice that this is hard for you, then getting in the shower until they calm down may be helpful. If you are in a public place, it can be helpful to guide your child to a more appropriate place to have their feelings, or even the car if necessary, and you can play calming music, or I love to play calming worship music. After they are calm, you can repair any damage that may have been done and start to discuss ways to solve whatever the problem was. Learning is something that can only happen when everyone feels safe and calm, which is why it is helpful to let your child feel and then address afterwards. When you use timeout this way, it helps to teach children to participate in creating a plan for dealing with future upsets, and it is encouraging for them to know that they have a choice in what is most helpful for them when they are upset. Eventually, with time and patience, they will learn the value of calming down before acting, and that mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn. If your child is younger than 3.5, it is helpful to focus on soothing before you deal with the problem. Soft music, modeling rhythmic breathing, or providing gentle touch may help them regain control faster. It is also perfectly acceptable to just let your child feel in whatever way that looks like for them, as long as it is not harmful to them or anyone else, for however long they need, without trying to change them. Just simply sitting nearby while sending out loving energy without interfering. This is my personal go-to when I am at my wit's end and do not have the emotional capacity to help soothe. Just sitting near my daughter and modeling how it looks to calm myself down. For me, it might be breathing, it might be speaking good thoughts, or praying out loud in a quiet and soothing voice. This can be an extremely effective way to help your child and you calm down without feeling shame or guilt later on, and allowing for self-regulation. Positive timeout allows for cooling off until you are both able to access the rational part of your brain, and it is future oriented, and that when your child feels encouraged, they can learn to make positive decisions about self-control and responsibility in the future, whereas punitive timeout is past oriented and it makes your child suffer for what they have done, which provides them not helpful tools for future experiences. Some might think that providing an inviting and pleasant area rewards your child for their misbehavior, but a wise adult is able to realize that we all have moments when we are too upset to get along, not just children, and a few moments of positive timeout when it doesn't involve shaming or punishing provides a cooling off period. Because past beliefs can interfere, it might be helpful for you to rename timeouts so that you can unlearn the implication that it means to punish or restrict. It is important to repeat that if your child is under 3 or 4, timeout should not be used, and supervision and distraction will be the most effective parenting tool for you. You can tell if your child is old enough by if they are able to help set up their space and understand how to use it when asked. Again, this space should always be offered as a choice and never forced. Your child always needs to choose it. Offer it when they are feeling discouraged, and if they refuse, offer to go with them. If they still refuse, then go yourself to model calming down until you feel better. Children do better when they feel better. Strong emotions can feel overwhelming for an adult and especially a small child. Positive timeout can help give them an opportunity to calm down enough to be able to work with you to solve the problem and not work against you. The purpose of positive timeout is to provide time for you and your child to calm down so that you can both choose better behavior. When you are aware of your child's development and capabilities, you can have more appropriate expectations regarding their behavior and what you can do to help them, while also encouraging them and providing them with tools that they can use now and later as adults. When you expect things that are beyond the ability of your child, this can be discouraging to both you and your child. You can always follow up positive timeout by working on a solution together. This has to happen after you and your child have had the chance to cool down so you can access the rational part of your brain. Power struggles happen when both you and your child have stopped thinking rationally and are reacting instead of responding. The neuronal connections needed for logical thought and objectivity are unavailable when the brain is overtaken by strong emotion. Your child is not the only one who is in need of a positive timeout. As a parent, it is important to recognize that when you feel like snapping or lashing out, accept these feelings as a sign to do something to care for yourself. Ensure that your child is safely occupied and take a few moments to put yourself in timeout. If possible, you could arrange some time to do something that is nurturing for yourself. I know this is not possible for everyone, so if this is not an option, it's a beautiful opportunity to model this for your child. You cannot have a wrong feeling, and neither can your children, but you can act in harmful or inappropriate ways, and so as parents, we get to choose. Do we want to lovingly guide and encourage our children? Do we want to equip ourselves with helpful tools so that we can equip our children with useful tools that they can use for the rest of their lives? Whether or not you are meaning to, you are making a choice. The way you choose to discipline your child is either encouraging them or discouraging them. And it is never too late to say, I didn't know any better, but now that I do, I can do better. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope it helped to provide you with some useful tools that you can add to your parenting toolbox. closing today, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Positive Discipline. Discipline is not about control, punishment, or rewards. It is about teaching. Let this quote rest in your mind for the next couple of weeks.